Connor Newman, and this is August 2017's Helios Tarot Forecast, drawn to match and speak to your personal astrological zodiac sign. Check out my website, IamHelios.com, and investigate all that I have to offer there, personal readings, courses, etc., and subscribe if you would like to receive updates. Also follow the link below to Annie Botticelli's Storyteller forecasts and be fascinated by how astrology plays into this all so beautifully. Okay, let's get started. Alright, Leo, here is your tarot spread for the month of August, and happy birthday to many of you. You have 5 cards here. Central theme, 2 potential dimensional timeline options you can choose from. You have a past section and a fate section. So we see here we have the Knight of Swords, the Aeon, the 5 of Discs, the Devil, and the Queen of Discs. So in your central theme, the Knight of Swords actually corresponds to one of the Myers-Briggs personality profiling system types. You may or may not already be aware of that. There are 16 personality types there with Myers-Briggs, and there are 16 court cards in the tarot. No coincidence. So seeing as how your central theme actually lines up with the ESTJ, or the Extroverted Sensing Thinking Judger, you have strong themes of order and structure, strong opinions, and results-driven nature, traditionalism. So this could very well be an aspect of yourself that needs to come forward right now, or maybe just is. Maybe it's coming forward and it's actually providing somewhat of a challenge. Whatever the case, whatever is happening right now is in fact happening for a reason, whether it's a challenge or a gift or a luxury even. This new aspect of yourself is coming forward in one way or another for a purpose. So consider the ways in which this personality type might be coming forward. Again, this ESTJ is somebody who really loves order and structure, somebody who really enjoys expressing their opinions. Somebody who can be like a producer, somebody who can be in charge, in a position of authority. So maybe it's time for some discipline. Maybe it's time to really hone in on what you're supposed to be doing here. Maybe it's time to really do your homework, figure out what exactly you can do with what you have at this very moment. And so when considering that, do consider these 2 options here. The 5 of Discs is a card of anxiety. It's a card of worry, a card of not knowing, fear of the unknown. It's not the most productive card, really, so therefore it's not the most productive path. Although it does carry energy of Mercury and Taurus together. Mercury is very fast-moving, very rapid, and Taurus is not necessarily that way. Likes to do things slowly and cautiously and meticulously, with patience and appreciation for the subtleties and for the sensory experience of doing and being within the action. So what this might manifest as is something that could be likened to sensory processing disorder, a condition in which the brain has trouble receiving and responding to information that comes in through the senses. So you could experience something like that along this path. So how can you avoid that? Or rather, how can you turn the risk of such an experience into a strength, into a benefit? Well, that would be through the experience of the Aeon, through the deliberate activation of this card. So coming to a resolution, coming to a close, trying something completely different, transcending old patterns that no longer serve you. This is coming up for a lot of people this month, actually. So a lot of us are feeling really stuck, really stagnant, really perhaps comfortable and rigid. Inertia has set in a lot of ways. So look to the areas of your life that have succumbed to inertia and have become stagnant and are no longer serving you. And maybe you need to drop a few pounds, figuratively speaking. You need to, shed some old habits and consider what got you here. The Devil is in your past. And the Devil is, of course, overindulgence, excessive behavior, doing too much or too little, or taking on too much. Perhaps the Devil is reminding you that there is such a thing as a healthy dose of selfishness, a healthy dose, a middle ground, a gray area, a middle path, moderation. Well, it's certainly not too late, and change is coming. You have here in your central theme the Knight of Swords, who is very practical and sees things as they are, and is a good problem solver. So you have the means to actually see exactly what you need to do. So let's consider the Fate section, the Queen of Discs. Yet another personality profile that lines up with the Myers-Briggs system. And the Queen of Discs is the ISFJ, the Introverted Sensing Feeling Judger, somebody who has a high sense of duty, somebody who works behind the scenes, ready to sacrifice, ready to always be accountable, and prefers action, prefers responsible action. somebody who prioritizes loyalty. Okay, loyalty not only to others, but to oneself and to one's own mission, one's own cause. A higher sense of purpose, loyalty to that, persistence and perseverance. So you see, the devil is quite excessive in your past and doesn't necessarily consider long-term effects and consequences. Well, the Queen of Discs is most concerned with that. This high sense of loyalty to one's own cause requires you to really consider longevity and what it is that you can do to ensure that, what it is that you can adjust and modify in order to ensure that. A lot of times the Queen of Discs does work alone, so this has to do with stepping back from the crowd, stepping back from social circles, and doing some really deep personal inner work. Maybe some trauma resolution, some meditation, hypnosis, EMDR. You can consider a lot of different things to access a lot of the pockets of unintegrated trauma deep within you, a lot of that pre-verbal stage trauma, most of which is sometimes very difficult to access. So the Queen of Discs typically requires some degree of solitude, while still remaining active, while still contributing, just perhaps in a different way, on a much more personal level maybe, an internal level. So very simply, currently considering practical matters, currently considering traditional methods and weighing the pros and cons of this type of approach and the two-dimensional timelines, one being essentially needless worry and anxiety, likely triggered by old methods, old patterns that are no longer serving you, as is implied by the other option being the Eon, trying something completely different, stepping out of old patterns. Look to the areas of your life in which you have been excessive, which perhaps a little reckless, in order to get a clear sight on what this tarot spread is speaking to directly, or most directly. And then, of course, your Queen of Discs, there has to be some integrative work, some alone time in your future, some stepping back, some kind of rethinking, recalibrating, and reprioritizing. So that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Don't forget to check out my website if you haven't already. I am HELIOS.com to take this much, much further.